Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Meeks. I am a social worker. I've received my master's in social work and I'm currently working with the geriatric population. Renee asked me to record a video today to talk to you a little bit about my experience with learning disabilities. For context, I'm 35 years old. So I was in high school and going through elementary school. You can do the math to put us in times of what the teaching style was. I grew up in Connecticut, Fairfield County, a great school system by all regards at the time. However, with my learning disability, when I've told Renee, I haven't looked at my tests in a long time, but I tested so highly in math and the really basic skills testing that you get in elementary school that I was technically in the gifted program for a period of time. I was a year ahead in math. However, my reading skills were just not catching up. My competent reading comprehension. My mother recalls at one point in first or second grade, the teacher telling her, she's just too social. And my mom always remembers thinking, well, how is everybody else getting the reading done? Who's Sarah talking to? Just a lot of different things that looking back were a struggle. I developed during that time a lot of anxiety. I was constant, but of course at that age you don't know it's anxiety. I was getting a lot of stomach aches, going to the nurse's office, wanting to go home. But of course, too young to sort of understand what anxiety was or have the language in that time. This was the 80s. I was born in 78. So, that language wasn't in schools. As I went on in middle school, I continued to be ahead in math, but no longer was in the gifted program because I wasn't doing well enough in my other classes. I remember coming home, you start getting the heavier workload in middle school and coming home and really feeling like I was working hard and just getting sort of the B's, maybe C plus, mostly B's, I think, some C pluses in middle school, but nothing bad still comparatively. I'm also a very social person. So for my family, there was just the feeling that, oh, she's just getting, she's with her friends all the time. There's so much going on. That I think some of the deficits really went unnoticed. High school, I ended up choosing to go, I chose to go to all-girls Catholic school. To say the least, I potentially would have ended up with far better services if I had ended up in the public high school. However, it took my mother actually going back for her master's in social work when I was in high school to really start to put the pattern together of what my education had been, what I had struggled with, and to really decide that there should be further testing. By freshman year, I was really disconnecting from even the classes that I had been interested in before. I continued to stay advanced in math, but my grades didn't follow. And I did at that point, as conscious as your adolescent psyche is, sort of stop making an effort because no matter how hard I tried, those grades weren't budging because I didn't present. So, I wasn't presenting stereotypical in the 80s of being dyslexic or, those math skills are still great. Her standardized tests are still wonderful. I remember, doing great on the SATs and I was doing them ahead of everyone else with the class ahead of me since I was ahead in math. And teachers questioning me, oh, she must just be lazy because, why would she have such good scores here and not be getting other things done? So my junior year, my mother took me and I did get tested, and sure enough, there were deficits between my auditory and visual learning. I'm a highly visual learner, hence why math was something that was so came so naturally to me. They told me I should be an accountant, which those who know me know is ridiculous. But so the inclinations that were stronger ended up being the place where I think it ended up not feeling like a strength. It ended up feeling like a weakness because I wasn't able to do so well in other areas. Once I got tested, I did, however, have a mother, luckily, and a father who were aware enough of what services I needed and were fiscally able to get them for me. And I ended up having a fabulous tutor. I went to, I think for a period of time, it's twice a week. And the skills I learned there really have changed my life, as I think most learning disabled people would say, or learning different people would say. But really, the month at a glance, the organization, the books on tape, reading comprehension. I'm actually an avid reader now. I'm still not as fast as other people, but my reading comprehension is up. Obviously, I have finished a master's program, so I'm not lacking in a lot of ways. But it definitely has defined my life. School has never, no matter, even when I'm in my graduate program and doing things I love, the actual reading still causes me anxiety. But as an adult now, and not as an adolescent, I'm recognizing what it is. I'm also knowing how to manage those issues better. So the positives of this experience for me has been a real true awareness of what style of worker I am as well. And I think that plays out in a way professionally, especially as a social worker, but in any interpersonal field that I have found that I have really been able to communicate with my supervisors, the people I supervise, sort of what my styles are, and understanding, that so I have different things that work really well for me, and that's how, how I need to work. Part of that is I'm incredibly organized. All of the training I've done has created someone who is an extremely efficient manager, I'm comfortable in saying, as well as organizer of tasks. I am not one to I don't forget things. Forgetting an assignment or forgetting something that needed to get done, unless I never actually wrote it down or someone didn't email it to me or write it down for me. It gets done. It doesn't get lost. And part of that is because of those skills I learned and knowing how I learn, knowing what I need has really helped me advance. I'm currently moving into a position as a private, a Medicare billing clinician. I am, working with universities as a supervisor through multiple different universities for their master's program students. And I still get a kick every probably once a month thinking, about what I went through. And that at a certain point, the schools, my high school was wanting to graduate me to just put all of us out of our pain. Having to take, I could never learn a language, having to take Latin 1 twice. And the teacher just really feeling bad for me. But all at the same time, not having any recognition that this was related to a learning style difference. I think the positives far outweigh the negatives. Would I have, if I was in this generation, do I think that I would have had the same challenges? No. And I think that the skills that can be imparted and reminded to those LD students that are struggling now is you're going to be that much stronger of a worker and learner later, because I was able to know what I needed. I was able to know what to ask for when I was in school. I was able to know how to communicate my styles and my working styles. And I wouldn't say that anyone I work with actually has any idea that it's a learning disability that I have, more so than I just have a structure and I am able to communicate that. And it makes for a far more impressive relationship with my coworkers. So I appreciate you taking time to hear my story. Please let Renee know if you have any questions. I don't know what I could tell you more, but thank you for doing the work you do. Take care.